Connecticut school districts and law enforcement agencies are once again moving to investigate and respond to a flurry of online violent threats made against schools across the country, which officials say may have originated as a TikTok challenge to get classes cancelled on Friday, December 17. None of the threats has been found to be specific or credible against schools within the state, according to the Connecticut Intelligence Center, which officials said has been investigating the threats for several days. Still, several districts were prompted Thursday to issue statements acknowledging the trend and to mollify continued concerns over student safety. It appeared to start out as an attempt for kids to get out of school, almost create a skip day, and morphed into the fear of threats of school violence, said Brian Foley, Assistant Commissioner of the State Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection. Police did not describe the TikTok trend in detail. In an email to families, West Hartford Public Schools officials described a widely shared post which threatened school safety on December 17 for every school in the USA, even elementary. Officials from several school districts, including Bristol, Hartford, and New Britain, issued statements acknowledging the threats. Some schools, including those in Farmington, Hamden, and Wallingford, will have an increased security or police presence on Friday. No school district had cancelled classes in response to the threats as of Thursday evening. The hoax threats appear to function essentially as a 21st century version of pulling the school fire alarm to get out of an exam, but the potentially deadly risk they pose make them impossible for law enforcement, school officials and parents to ignore. Investigating the threats starts to take its toll on everybody in the community, said Kate Diaz, president of the Connecticut Education Association, but officials have no choice. The consequence of being wrong in these circumstances is overwhelming, Diaz said. You only have to be wrong once for it to be tragic. Diaz pointed out how the suspect in the recent mass shooting at Oxford High School in Michigan reportedly circulated ominous posts online before carrying out the attack. Other national social media trends have borne out in Connecticut. The Devious Licks Challenge, which encouraged petty theft and vandalism of school property, swept Connecticut schools in September, and schools braced for the more violent Hash Slipper challenge a short time later. Some experts believe these trends, challenges and threats, though varying in severity, are all symptomatic of a student body that is still reeling from the challenges to mental health posed by the return to in-person learning and the continued pandemic. We've seen such a sharp rise in the mental health pandemic during this COVID pandemic as well, said Dr. Melissa Santos, Division Chief of Pediatric Psychology at Connecticut Children's Hospital and Associate Professor of Pediatrics at UCA. There was some optimism, Santos said, that a return to the structure and routine provided by in-person learning would help students, but it may have simply highlighted just how many were still struggling. But there's a sense that the task of limiting these trends ultimately falls on the platforms themselves, and there's a strange irony in that the same platform that disallows the use of vulgar language enables posts threatening mass violence to go viral. Diaz is calling on TikTok, and other platforms, to do more. Whatever filter they've applied is not effective at this point, Diaz said. It's clearly not working, because it's 3 months later and we're still talking about TikTok challenges of violence in schools. The spate of recent threats have increased anxiety during an already stressful time. In Farmington, administrators this week held a community meeting after some parents kept their children out of school after a threat, found not to be credible, circulated on social media. They also made counselors available to students. We're kind of going into this school year with a certain level of anxiety and concern, and every time we have a threat like this that becomes viral and starts to have a presence in our daily thinking, it's a challenge, it's difficulty we have.